Off in the distance is a bed with a ground covered juniper. You can see it up there, that soft blue color, and it's grown over its original edging. And that's the project for today. I want to get in there and we're going to actually cut this back quite a ways, re-expose that original edging, and that's going to help us deal with the problem that can happen with creeping junipers. The grass can start growing up in them, especially if they've gone over their boundary like you see here. Hey everybody, I'm Kevin and this is Icee Blue Juniper, and one of the reasons that a juniper can get so aggressive and spread out, it has the capability of layering in, meaning that stem, if it touches any kind of soil or a wood mulch is broken down, it'll actually root in right there. So this has really cruised along because it has a mulch base. If you were to plant these junipers on a decorative rock bed, they're quite a bit slower growing because they have to just grow along as that new growth flushes out. Now I put this off, I'm going to say over 2, maybe 3 years now. I couldn't decide if I wanted to just expand the edging here, and I use a lot of rock edging in my landscape, so it's actually pretty easy for me to do, just to dig a trench, drop that rock in, add some mulch. But I thought, you know, I really don't need any more of this ground cover juniper to keep expanding. So today's the day. We are going to cut this back, and I'm also going to show you some of the best ways to get grass out of a juniper like this, and what I think is going to be about the quickest way for us to find where that edging is and how I'm going to cut it back. Okay, first thing we want to do, we want to find the original edging. There's a black poly edging in here. I'm not exactly sure where it's at. It might even be as far back as a foot back. And the drawback to doing this kind of pruning that I'm going to do, it's going to leave kind of a really blunt edge surface. It's not going to look the best for the rest of this season and maybe into most of next season, because we're going to be relying on the top growth to come over and hide it. Normally what you want to do to keep a juniper in its natural shape is go through and do pruning like you see here, where you're going after those longest stems, and each season, maybe even twice a season, you keep cutting back those. But this just got away from me and I was indecisive on what I wanted to do. So I'm going to put some gloves on. And junipers, they can be a little spiny. I don't mind grabbing them, working with them, but since this is a fairly large area, we'll be here a while, I'm going to throw on some gloves. At first, you're going to want to dislodge the juniper because it's rooted in, even into the grass. By doing that, now that tool can more easily cut all the stems. What can happen with junipers is they're completely nested together, so unless we are able to get almost all of the stems cut, it can be kind of hard to start pulling them out if you've only got 50% of them. So we'll go through and lift up like that. I have a feeling that most of the grasses that are in here, if we do end up going back 12 to 18 inches, I'm going to be able just to tear those out. And I won't really have to use any herbicide. I might be able to take care of this the manual method, and that's just hand weeding. So that's the first way to remove grass in a juniper like this. Pull it out by the roots. Another method is called the wick method. Put on a rubber glove or a nitrile glove to protect your skin from the herbicide, and then put a cloth glove over it that'll absorb the chemical like a sponge. Dip your glove into that herbicide and wick it onto the blades of grass. If you don't like using Roundup, Decimate is another herbicide that would work, or I suspect even a strong vinegar would work. Let's keep working here, and towards the end of the video, I'm going to mention one more option that can help you get grasses under control in your junipers and other ornamental shrubs. You know, it's not back as far as I thought. I was thinking it was going to be back in here, but it looks like we've got just this outer 6 inches, so we'll be cutting this back at least 12 to 18 inches. Let me show you an example of those roots. The mulch is completely broken down into soil, and it's layering right into the turf grass as well. Okay, we could go through and hand clip everything with the pruners. We're probably going to use a combination of tools though. The loppers can work pretty good, and then I brought one of my larger loppers. I can get a little bit bigger bite. Go ahead and just see how much we can bite into. Yeah, I gotta say, having that bigger bite is gonna make a pretty good difference. I'm gonna try it with the smaller just to see. Oh yeah, just a night and day difference in how much of a grab you can get. So this is probably gonna make the project go fairly fast. I'm gonna say that's gonna be our best method, using that big loppers and then coming through and cleaning it up with the hand pruners. If you'd like to see a few more examples on juniper pruning, I've got an earlier video that I'll link to in the description box that you can take a look at. If your skin is sensitive to spiny leaves, I'd suggest a long sleeve shirt when doing something like this. I can tell I'm already going to be a little bit itchy after this project's over. Okay, there are a lot of different varieties available to pick from in the carpet or creeping juniper category. Depending on the variety, they can range in heights from only a couple inches tall up to 18 inches. Most references indicate mature-sized plants spreading to about an 8 to 12 foot width. But as I mentioned, if they're allowed to layer in and self-propagate, they can get much larger. And not only is there a wide range of heights of spreaders to pick from, there are so many different leaf colors as well. Different shades of blue like you see here, and many with different shades of green. And there's also varieties with yellow and gold tones. And as an added bonus, many of the junipers get unique winter colors, often bronze-like or even plum colors. Wow, yeah, it doesn't take long to make a mess in a project like this. And then rather than follow the edging here, I'm going to taper this up to that nice red boulder up there. I can tell already in the spring how this is going to look a lot nicer. In here we've got this beautiful early blooming creeping phlox in here, and that's just going to give it more room. It's not going to get choked out. Here's where I'll go ahead. I'm just going to try to hand pull most of the grasses, and then whatever shows back up in a month or so, then I'll probably just do that wick method. Okay, the third way you can control grasses are herbicides that you can spray directly over the top of junipers and many other ornamental plants. One example I'll show you here is a bone-eyed product called grass beater. Make sure you read the label because there are exceptions and some plants are more sensitive than others. But it's a good option where hand pulling is not an option or there's too much grass for wicking to be practical. By the way, we're mid-August here doing this project, but here's a photo from a few years ago of our bed in the spring. Isn't that something when all those perennials are blooming? I want to link to one more video in the description box if you'd like to take a closer look at this bed and many of the varieties I've got growing in here. Oh boy, that one really had dug in. Look at that juniper was so nested in there we took out a huge chunk of turf. Okay, we're getting pretty close now. Let's get these stems raked up, make this area look a little bit neater before I show you the finishing touches. That'll make this finished product look quite a bit better. Okay, then those stubs that you see there, I knew that's how it was going to turn out. It's not ideal. It's not really a great look. And unfortunately, those lower stubs, they're not going to put on a lot of growth. Most of it's going to happen over time again where that top layer comes over. So what I'm going to do to make this look a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and add fresh mulch. I usually use western red cedar in my area or the cypress, but this is going to make a big difference on how this all finishes up. A final look then, it'll take a few months for that turf grass to fill back in up to the edging, but I really like how the mulch has freshened up this area and masked most of those blunt cuts on the juniper. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for stopping by Garden Hike. We'll see you again next video.